Aloha and welcome to the Papa Guy Podcast. It is what is today? June 6th, D-Day. We're here today to test a few things and to check out what's happening on June 6th, 2024 in the world. So hope that you guys enjoy the podcast. We're actually starting to video now. So if you want to go to YouTube, you can see this on YouTube, or you can go to Spotify and see it on the video there. Either way, your choice. Anyways, it also will be out there in audio only. I don't watch podcasts myself, but it seems to be the trend that most people are videoing their podcasts. So I'm going to start doing the same thing. Anyways, I want to introduce a couple of things that I'm going to be doing with my friend and kind of partner, Scott Startzman, the real estate guy on Oahu. And we're going to start a new segment. It's going to be called Mauka and Makai, All Things Hawaii with Scott and Guy. That will be brought to you by Dr. Seuss. And if you don't like it, you can kiss my caboose. Anyways, haha. That's going to be a show where we're talking all things Hawaii, real estate included, but also the lifestyle here in Hawaii. Scott and I we enjoy talking with each other. We have conversations weekly, and we just figured we're having a lot of good conversations that should be recorded and out there as people can learn some of the pros and cons about being in the state of Hawaii, living here, working here, investing here, retiring here, surfing here, swimming here. Scott, you'll find in the ocean. Me, you'll find in the pool. I will swim in the ocean, but maybe no more than 6 feet deep of water and within a quick rescue of myself to the shore. Anyways, the ocean is wonderful. It's so healing and soothing, and man, talk about making you feel completely different. So I have actually elevated my swimming to a point I've never been to in my life. I actually have, well, let me give you the last 12-day rundown. I have swam or swum, whichever one you want to use, 9 times out of the last 13 days. And I finally reached a point where I can swim a mile. It takes me about 50 minutes approximately. So you look at it, that puts me as a beginner, but you're talking about a guy who could swim maybe 3 lengths, of a 25 or 25 yard or 25 meter pool. And then I'd have to stop and rest. It was so tiring, so physically tiring to me, and trying to find out my techniques and everything. And I've tried over and over the 36 years I've lived here, and how many times, a half dozen times at least, that I've dedicated myself to become a better swimmer. Finally, I've reached that milestone. I'm swimming, and I want to say I've swam something like 44,000 yards in that swim time. So I've done a lot of distance. And then I'm also doing some exercises with fins and whatnot. So I just thought I'd throw that in there because at the beginning of the year, I talked about New Year's resolutions and how they don't necessarily have to start. I don't like the idea of New Year's. I think if you're ready to start something, you start it now. You don't have to wait for the new year. And well, this is something that I've started many times. But finally, I have reached the point where I'm actually doing some stuff, and it's great. Water feels great in the pool. It's allowing me to get some distance. I have a Garmin watch that basically counts my laps for me, and I know how far I've gone. It's very enjoyable, and plenty of good swimmers around here. Many of you may know that Hawaii is the home for the Ironman every October, and has been for many years. There's so many participants that last year they finally had to split it up so that the women come one year and the men come the next year, because 2,500 participants after the pandemic became 5,000. And that's just too much for the island to handle for a one-day race. So last year was the women. This year in October will be the men. No, you're not going to see me at the Ironman anytime soon. I don't think the swim is always first. I would never make it for the first portion. I'd be like 100 yards out in the water and begging for help. So anyways, but what I was getting at is there's a lot of people that swim in the pools here, and you can tell they're uh, Ironman people, and they did a half Ironman recently. So there were some swimmers around. People are always willing to give you tips, and there are people that live here close by to the pool that I use and offer me tips, get a pair of fins. Another guy said, hey, get a pair of these buoy shorts, which basically are a wetsuit, which looks, about the same shape as a men's Olympic swimmer's suit, those black things that come just about down to their knees. But it's buoy. So it basically keeps a man who is less buoyant than a woman in most cases parallel in the water. So for me, that's just been a great advantage, a great way for me to get going, essentially, in the pool. And so that's my thing. That's what I'm doing now personally here on the Big Island. That's just one of my personal things. I just turned 65 last month, May 23rd. So I figured, hey, it's time to get going on some of that stuff. And there's people in that pool who've been swimming forever. Some of them are older folks, but they go back and forth, back and forth. And I tell you, nothing feels better than coming out of the water, taking a shower. Everything changes. Mindset, physically, you feel better. Swimming doesn't hurt. I will say there is some stress on the lungs for me, but I've tried to push through it a little bit more. Anyways, I'm not sure what you folks are doing out there. Hopefully you're doing something. If not, feel free to get started. If you're listening to this podcast, I don't care if it's walking a mile or walking 2 miles, playing golf. I have a friend you swears they're going to hit the golf range this year in Michigan. Hit the golf, okay? I have played some golf. I was playing golf with my brother last week in Hilo, and my thought of the day for that golfing round was, well, it actually was advice from years ago from a good friend of mine, a guy named Jerry Johnson, was the golf pro at Montalani Resort. And one day he walked by me. I was out on the range. I said, hey, Jerry, give me a tip. And he said, Guy, he's from the South. So it sounded more like this. Guy, don't hit the ball, swing the club. And that's exactly what it sounded like. And I thought, that's interesting. In other words, swing the club. The ball's going to get in the way, but swing the club correctly. And it helps your swing so much. The week before, I had played kind of a lousy round of golf. This time I said, hey, I started out with that swing thought. Swing the club, don't hit the ball. And I swung so much easier, hit so many more good shots. I was out with my brother. We had a good day on the Hilo side, which is the rainier side of the island, but a little bit of rain in the morning before we teed off. And after that, it was a beautiful day. So still enjoy that time out on the golf course. I also work, okay? It's not just I'm retired and having a good time out here in Hawaii. So, but I tell you what, for me, if I go swimming or I get a round of golf in or a couple rounds of golf in, I feel like I'm retired. So I can never see myself reaching that point when I don't work.